Fellowship family, welcome to your one-stop shop for all things church life. My name is Mark Francis, and I'm once again your host for today. It's exciting to once again be back here with you, chatting about what God has been doing in the lives of our church, in the lives of those people of our church over the last year. And, 2020 was definitely a difficult year for all. In these past couple of weeks, we've been unpacking where was God in 2020, especially here in Fellowship Bible Church. And, when things get shut down, when people don't see and interact with each other as much as they used to, you might think out of sight, out of mind. But you know what? God was still at work in all of our ministries here at FBC. 2 weeks ago, we were able to see kind of where God was with the men's ministries and how discipleship groups have formed. Last week, we got a chance to see where God was with women in the Word. And today, I have two other special ladies with me, and they represent children's ministry. And you know what? Children's ministry is a much-needed ministry here at FBC. So I want to hear all about it. I have one lady on my right, your left, looking at home. This is Karen Santmier. How are you?
Good. Doing well.
Karen. Yes. And then we have Caroline Lieberman.
Yeah.
Yeah? Your hair is pink.
My hair is pink.
I love it. For those watching at home, you gotta love it. We had a brief conversation beforehand, and how long has your hair been pink?
About 8 months now.
And why is it pink?
I've wanted pink hair for years, so it's now pink.
I bet kids love it.
Yes.
When they interact.
Yes. Caroline is a hard name to say for a lot of kids, particularly 2s or 3s.
Yep.
So they say, "Hey, lady with the pink hair." So I know that's me, that they're asking for water or more goldfish.
It's a trend, and I love it. It keeps people on your toes, right? You never know what it's going to look like. My son dyed his hair too, and so it happens, and it's okay. It's just hair.
It's just hair. Yeah. I don't know how long it'll be pink. Who knows?
Who knows? And you know what? That's something that's fun. I love it. Kids ministry is meant to be fun, right?
Yes.
And so unpack just a little bit. I wanted to get to know you guys as ladies, but also what you do here at FBC and how children's ministry is impacted. So Karen, I'll turn to you. Just give me a quick rundown of your history here at FBC and how long you've been involved with children.
Okay. I've been involved with children for as long as I can remember. As a high schooler, I started, but not here. So here at Fellowship, we have been coming to Fellowship Bible Church for 26 years, and I've been involved in children's worship for 24.
Okay, and you say we. Who is we?
My husband and I, and our 4 kids.
And his name is?
Scott. Scott is the pastor of local outreach here as well.
Yes. So there's a couple families here that have some crossover of husband and wife teams, and you guys are one of them.
Yeah.
So that's incredible.
Yeah.
So he came on staff.
Yeah, he was 22 years on staff part-time, and then I think he's been full-time 21. Yeah.
Wow,
so
you guys are long-term.
Yeah, we started coming, and we were, Scott was a small group leader, community group, mini church back in the day. Small groups are a big part of our life, so started there and then realized there was a need for worship, and I started pushing a cart room to room for worship.
Cool.
Yeah.
And back then, how many kids were you really interacting with?
How
many rooms were you pushing a cart around?
I don't even, it was on your side, the preschool nursery, and then we had elementary on the other side. And then I started a choir by the next Christmas we were here. I had a choir thanks to Scott Nelson. So that was that kind
of harkens us back to last year and the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
You got a chance to hear all about what the church was like years and years ago.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, Caroline, I'll turn to you.
Yeah.
What role do you have here at FBC, and how long have you been coming?
We've been coming for 24 years. Started in children's ministry probably a year after that.
And when you say
worked in the nursery.
Who's we?
My husband.
Okay.
He is Jeff.
Yep.
And we've been married 33 years. We have 4 kids, 2 grandkids, and let's see, he started teaching 2nd grade probably the year after we came, and then I started out in the nursery, and I knew all along that the nursery really wasn't where I was supposed to be. It was more of an obligation because we had little babies at the time. And so then so I did nursery for a while, then I did 2nd grade for a while, and then I did 5th grade for a while, and none of that worked. And then one time I went to who was the director at the time and said, do you have somewhere in preschool that you need help someday? And so I went and I helped in a class with Marianne and Jim Davis, and that to me was home.
That's
and I was
your
like,
niche.
okay, all right. And I said to her, she must have been jumping inside, but she was very calm. She's like, oh, we could probably put you on the schedule. And I'm like, well, I'm here every week. So, and that's how it started for me. And I taught preschool. I taught 2-year-olds for probably about 8 years, maybe 9 years. And then I've been the director for 11.
Okay, so what does it, just walk me through, what does it mean to be a director? What
I have to facilitate, pre-COVID, I was facilitating 6 classrooms for 2 services, so a total of 12 classrooms on Sundays. It's getting curriculum set, getting curriculum ordered, making up schedules, making sure there's enough people in the classroom, making sure toys are not broken or, that kind of thing on a weekly basis.
And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes for all
There
of that.
are. Pre-COVID, we were serving probably about 80 to maybe 110 children on a Sunday.
Yep.
So it was a big involved.
That's a great ministry. When you say curriculum, I mean, they're not just going back there and eating candy and goldfish and juice.
No. We have Bible stories.
Sunday.
We have music time. We had puppets that would reinforce the story for the kids. And there is, of course, play because, why not?
Well, yeah.
And goldfish. So, I mean, we do have to remember the age of our population.
But it's neat that you found your niche.
Yes, it was an immediate, this is it.
Yep. And that's where God uses different people and different gifts to say, okay, when you're enjoying something that you're doing, that means, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be. If it seems to be a drag and not fun.
5th grade was awful. I'm sorry to all those 5th graders out there, but for me, it was just awful. It was drudgery.
Yep. Well, it's glad to see that God put you where you're supposed to be, and you've been there that long, and you've been able to serve. Right. So, Karen, you're not in preschool as much, but you have a different role. Kind of explain what you do on a regular basis, and let's talk here pre-COVID, because I want to get to what that really impacted you guys.
Yeah. So pre-COVID, we had worship teams in preschool. We had and 5th and 6th graders led those teams, and then we had worship teams in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and middle schoolers led those teams, and then those children, and then we had worship going on with 3rd through 6th grade, and high schoolers led those teams with adult oversight over all of them.
That's neat. I'll just pause there because the fact that kids are leading kids, the couple-year older kids are leading the younger kids. How did that develop over time? Because that seems to be somewhat of a kind of a new thing. I don't really think many other churches are doing that.
Yeah. We started it here, I think about 8 years ago. It might be as long as 10 years ago, but 8 years, probably 6 years ago for preschool. Yeah. But ultimately, that's how I was mentored as a middle high schooler. And the lady who mentored me is still here at Fellowship. She was at another church where I was at the time growing up. But she brought me alongside her in leading as she taught. And I saw that as something I wanted to do. And so that's where I got my passion for kids and music in particular. But it was one of those things in the back of my mind, and then we saw another church in Lancaster do it well. We took our team up there, and that's when we started it here.
Neat. Yeah. And I've had my kids go through the program. Yeah. I'm sure plenty of you watching and listening have had kids go through the program, and they've been blessed. But our whole congregation gets blessed when the kids experience that kind of joy of just worship or being in a curriculum where they're learning something, and you can come home and talk to them and say, what did you learn at church today? And they get a chance to share some little nugget about God. And
they're learning, the older kids that are serving are learning their niche, like Caroline was talking about. And when you get that aha moment, and sometimes they go, this is not for me. Like I have one young man, he's in 9th grade. He is incredible in with the kids. He does not want to be up front, although he does a great job up front, but he likes to hang out with the kids. And we need those people. Yeah. You need all of that. You need someone at the tech booth, which there are a couple kids teens who only want to do that. And so I just think it's a great way to start early, figuring out how God's gifted you and then using your gifts for His glory.
Yeah. And especially in this setting where the church has grown to be so big, you can get lost. But so just quick little plug, serving is one great need for our body, especially with kids, pouring into the life of kids. And I'll just also share, you guys aren't the only people at FBC serving with children's ministry. So there's a pastor of children's ministry. There's other people on your team. Walk me through kind of who is all a part of the children's ministry here at FBC. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so Charlie Spencer is at the helm and as our children's pastor, and then Tara Jones is over nursery. Heather Holmes is over the FSAT nursery preschool. His glory.
Yeah. And especially in this setting where the church has grown to be so big, you can get lost. But so just quick little plug, serving is one great need for our body, especially with kids, pouring into the life of kids. And I'll just also share, you guys aren't the only people at FBC serving with children's ministry. So there's a pastor of children's ministry. There's other people on your team. Walk me through kind of who is all a part of the children's ministry here at FBC. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so Charlie Spencer is at the helm and as our children's pastor, and then Tara Jones is over nursery. Heather Holmes is over the FSAT nursery preschool children's ministry, and then Angela May is our children's ministry glue admin.
Yeah. So if I'm counting, that's 6 people that are part of your team. I mean, how many of you guys watching and listening at home? There's 6 people working here at FBC, serving your children and working with your kids. That's great.
We work really well as a team. We've been together for a long time, and we just really work well. We enjoy each other's company, and we all have such a passion for children.
That comes through. And much appreciated. So thank you for all parents out there. So walk me through. Again, the kind of part of the goal of this conversation is 2020 was challenging, and for all people, for the community, for our families, for church and children's ministry. What changed? What impacted you guys as children's ministry? But I want to get the light at the end of the tunnel also of kind of how did you see God work in those changes?
Well, obviously March for us changed that, we couldn't meet in person. So speaking from my point of view of it, it was kind of like, okay, well, what is that going to look like? And for me personally, for a few Sundays, it was like, well, this is a much needed rest, to be honest with you, because it can be tiring. And then it was in because we still met. Some of it was over Zoom. Some of it was, in one great big huge room in each corner. And it was really evident that just because we're not meeting in person, there's still children who need us. And their parents need us. And so that was, for me, it was like, okay, break time's over. Let's get to do something.
And, you think of just what a typical view of children's ministry is. Okay, parents, drop your kids off. Now parents, I've got time and to go to a class and do what I want to do. But there's actual ministry happening the children. And I've heard Pastor Charlie share that so often that it's not daycare. It's not
child ministry.
Not child care.
Right.
It's, it is children's
We don't
ministry.
babysit your child.
Yeah. And so when that gets removed, or that component of being in person with kids, yes, it's a rest, but there's still a loss happening.
Right.
It seems like a loss. But Karen, what did you see happen in the lives of families of kids when we weren't gathering here as a body?
Well, we saw families step up to the plate and do that. Not that there wasn't discipling and worship and things happening at home before, but now it became more. And, our goal has always been for families to be the main disciplers of and our goal is to partner with families so that they help their children to know God, love God, serve God. Well, the goal didn't change. It just became, and I think for us, I remember having a discussion. I was thinking about this earlier in our meeting of how are we doing at that partnering part? Like, what could we do better? And I think, I know God had it perfectly planned that I really by moving everything home, we had to come up with ways to partner with parents and let the parents do the work. And so for us, we had to get creative. What did it look like? For me, it meant I made worship videos at home, and I would FaceTime with a couple of my teen leaders because I am not a choreographer. And so I would have these, and it was really fun, one-on-one. I usually had 2 to 3 teenagers on a FaceTime, and we were coming up with motions, and I was videoing that, and so I became a video person too, I guess. But somehow all together, seeing all that creative and then passing it on to families. And then we would do, for instance, I would do worship videos, and one week I was doing This Is My Father's World, and I was telling them the story behind the hymn. And so I thought, well, I should video this outside because let's go out, and because the writer always said, I want to go out and see my Father's world. And that was part of how he came up with the song. And so I went out and set up the video outside. And, so it caused, I think, a lot of us to be more creative and to think through things and to be more personal. They got to be at my house, see me at my piano singing sometimes, or see one of my leaders at their, but we were, became more in people's homes. But I think it became a partnership tool. That was a good thing.
That's neat. I mean, I like that thought that it changed. You kind of always had it in the back of your head.
Yeah.
This partnership with parents, this partnership with families. But what did that really look like?
Right.
And now, because of the change, because of 2020, because of the shutdown, you really saw it in action.
Right.
I love how there's that partnership with families that's consistent. And that's just not just children's ministry, but youth ministry talks about that. Family life ministry with Pastor John Avery talks about that. That's not the church's role to do the work or to train the children.
Yeah.
We're here to reinforce. We're here to encourage, give tools.
Right.
And that's super. What kind of stood out to you as you were really interacting with some of these individuals more one-on-one, whether it be the teens or your team? How did you see God work in the life of those around you during this time? Caroline.
Well, I think what really struck me during this was we did a preschool, it was Little Hands Praise Zoom thing. And, I don't have a computer at home that's got a camera on it, so I'm just using my little phone, and I'm trying to swipe through to see all these little faces of all these little kids and their siblings. Just Karen would do some songs, and we'd all do some silly songs together, and we'd move, and the joy on the parents' faces. Just as I'm scrolling through my little tiny screen trying to see these little kids, it was just evident that they really needed to hear us. They needed to hear some worship songs. Tara Jones would read a book. That was always a wonderful book, and we were all just like, looking like this, looking at the book with her as she reads it. And I would do a little finger play, and I started drawing on my fingers. And some of the kids, as I'm swiping through, their parents let them draw on their fingers little faces for these little skits that I came up with. But it was just really evident when you see they're not only the kids' faces, but the parents' faces, that they were just so glad to have this. What was it? 5 minutes?
It was 25.
Oh, it was 25
the whole
minutes?
time.
The whole time was 25 minutes long.
Time flies.
It did. It went really fast. And just to see that they had that, not really a break, but just a little something different to do in their day. And it was always God-centered.
Yeah.
Neat.
Because our message hasn't changed. Like Karen said, God is God. Right. It's just how are we going to get that message to the kids?
And they enjoyed seeing each other on there too. It was funny. They'd try to talk to each other. Now we muted them. We did learn that. That was, I think, a question you had asked somewhere. Yeah. What did you learn? I learned how to mute. But we also, on that Little Hands Praise, Jocelyn from India and her children joined us. And then they brought a neighbor child in the one day. And then they have started doing kid videos over there, which they've sent me, which has been in India. Yeah. So it was just a neat way to make the world smaller. And I just thought that was...
We have heard this consistency of how Zoom has taken over our world, and for good good or for bad, and it has brought people together closer. I've heard the missions guys share those stories of how it's been able to impact ministry more regularly instead of visiting. And so to hear how those pastors and pastors' wives can impact our kids here for the glory of the Lord is great.
Yeah.
I also remember, and tell me more about this because I'm not sure what came about of having these drive-throughs of families, and you guys are handing out
so fun
little gift baggies. What did that look like for you guys?
They would call them fun bags. And that's kind of just basically what they were fun bags, just lunch bags with activity sheets, coloring sheets we tried to base them on what the sermon was that Sunday. And
this is still when we weren't gathering.
When we were not gathering. And so just something to help the children, if their parents were watching online, just something on Romans 8 or Romans 4 or 5, just to help keep them engaged in a more simplified version of the lesson, So, and it had little trinkets in there too.
Sidewalk like chalk, sometimes ball. Just all different fun. Always scarves. A snack.
Always a snack because that's who we are.
We did a scarf the one week so they could do their worship at home with scarves.
But what was neat was I wasn't sure how many people we would get. Certainly not that first time, but then cars would just keep coming and coming, and their faces, the kids' faces, and the parents like, hi. And we were the same way because we hadn't been out really of our homes for a long time either. So to meet as a group again was a blessing. And then to see these faces come through, and parents would roll their window down, and kids would be up in the windows, and I miss you and miss you too, and all those. We had signs. We had signs that said, "We miss you, we love you." And then one week, because you have to deep clean everything each time. So, it's easier to deep clean 10 trucks instead of 20 trucks. So half of toys are taken out, that kind of thing. Snack is different. It's all prepackaged snacks for the children. And our room capacity, Pastor Charlie figured out how many children can we actually fit in this room, or should we fit based on the mandates that we have to follow, right? So our class sizes are smaller, which is good and bad, because pre-COVID, you could see 12 or 15 2-year-olds in a classroom, which is a lot of kids. Now we can only have 10. So in that respect, it's easier for the teachers to get to know the kids better. You can have more interaction with 10 than with 15. Unfortunately, that means that, there's only a space for 10.
Have you guys run into capacity?
We have a couple of Sundays, Okay.
Well, it's something that we're living and learning as we go.
Right.
And even on Sunday mornings, I know just even these past couple of weeks, attendance is going up. So we're adapting on the fly. But I love the fact that kids are coming, they're being engaged, and they're being ministered to.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. So Karen, how about you and your ministry?
So in worship, we are meeting every Wednesday, and of course wearing masks, doing all the social distancing at our rehearsals. But we're making those worship times very intentional, something that was during COVID, Bible memory, coming up with motions for songs, and they would send in videos. So we are breaking into small groups, and this past week we worked on All Hail the Power of Jesus' Name, which is the hymn of the month. And the entire group was broken into I think it's 3 verses and a chorus, but into those parts and came up with motions, and then we put it all together. And so trying to be interactive yet still in those breakout times, very spread apart and social distance. And then we're working on focusing on a musical. We are starting back to having worship on Sunday mornings this week. So that's exciting. We're doing it instead of having 2 large groups, we're doing 3 groups, and we're doing it in the classrooms that they're already in. So they're standing up where they're seated, so they're already social distanced. And because the 3rd and 4th grade are together on Sunday mornings, and 5th and 6th grade. So we're just opening the wall and, just getting creative. My team is really on board and we're ready to start that process. So that's exciting.
Just a sidebar. I mean, you guys are talking a lot about cleaning and safety and social distancing, and the church as a whole has gone through great measures to make sure that things are safe and healthy and clean, and you guys are no different.
Right.
It sounds like you're doing all kinds of things.
We take temperatures every Sunday of every volunteer, every child that comes through our door, whether that's nursery, preschool, or elementary. We're all, doing the same thing as far as that
So those listening, watching at home, just kind of curious about that. It's just important to stress that there is so much going on behind the scenes that you guys are working through to ensure the health of everybody coming.
Club 56, same way. All the chairs are spread out. And, so there's still great ministry happening, still ways for kids to engage with each other and with adults, but it's in we're just making it a little bit different.
Yep. Yeah. That's good. So just let's bring this home. I want to hear from you guys personally, and where did God show up in your life in the time of 2020 as you're doing ministry? But what did you learn about God? And Karen, I'll ask you first.
What I learned about myself actually was that I thought I was flexible. I'm not flexible, not in the way God needed me to be, to jump back in, to start in-person classes. And that's good because he stretched me in just being able to adapt to smaller classrooms and what does that look like? So we're just doing one Bible lesson throughout the whole preschool instead of 3 different lessons. And, just thinking outside the box, things that I didn't, think what was going to happen. So that was kind of enjoyable, sort of, but needed, definitely.
Absolutely. To essentially know that, God is in control. He's leading the steps.
Right. And I thought that I was a gracious person, but through all this, he's really taught me how to be even more gracious to people because everybody has a different level of thought process in this whole COVID thing. Yep. And I need to be gracious to all thinking and opinions and even my own. Yeah. And to give myself that grace.
Yeah. That's a good little nugget. Karen.
Well, I echo that. But I think I just keep coming back to that open hands. And I remember seeing the speaker say that, maybe several speakers, but just that, to have my hands open to what God would have for me, because it just seemed like things were changing and I'm not a real techno person and I had to learn to do that. And, or else ministry wasn't going to happen. So it was like, get on board or get off. And, so I just had to open and be willing to, like, a lot of, like, my team leaders taught me things online, and like we would be in the middle of a kids on worship rehearsal and I'm like, I can't share the screen. And so then I made another family who had teenagers, co-hosts, and their girls took over, and just allowing many people to use their gift. And I've always been someone who likes to do that, but I realized not enough, and just releasing that and knowing that God is in control and that ministry will happen. And so a musical didn't happen last year, but how to be creative through it all. And so, and just allow God to use us. And I enjoyed the rest as well. It was I felt like at the beginning, I was actually working too much because I couldn't turn it off and I was having fun kind of learning new things. But then it was like, step back and go take a walk and go, get out into my Father's world and really just enjoy the worship that comes with that. Yeah. And so, enjoy why we're all here and just day by day.
I love it. Yeah. I've heard lots of key things come out of our conversation. One, that serving where your passion is vital. Mm-hmm. God is a creative God, so he'll push our creativity and allow us to display his glory through change, through just the fun that happens with children's ministry. But then also that he's a sovereign God, that we can trust him and know that, okay, we don't have to be in charge. Right. And he is the one who's in charge. Yes. Yeah. And that goes through with anything. But for children's ministry, how fun and exciting that is for us to learn that and then to convey that to our kids and share that. So keep up what you're doing. I know 2021 is still yet to be seen. Yeah. Right. And do you have any kind of plugs or anything that you want to share for where ministry is going for this year?
I don't know where God's going to take children's ministry, but I do know that his message will be the same.
Yes.
And that he will always be on the throne. And we just need to be ready.
Yeah.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah, and as Caroline was speaking, I thought, this is one of those little plugs again, but it just seems to make sense. You know, even if you have tried children's ministry in an age group that you didn't enjoy, try something different, or just to know that these kids do need you, and we do need to open up some other rooms, and it's never think that positions are full. I think I've been talking with other people recently, and I just think, don't ever think that positions are full. If you have a passion for worship, or you have a passion for little children or older elementary or youth, reach out to all of us in leadership, and we want to help you find your niche.
Yep.
And don't be afraid if your first try isn't where you want to be.
No.
It took you a few.
It took me quite a few tries.
Yeah.
No, that's good. And that's always needed. I think that is definitely one thing that is a big church mentality that though it's all covered. They don't need me, but man, we need you.
And I had no experience. I had no experience except I had children of my own.
Yep.
And I had just...
You need that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I had just finished teaching full-time, but wanted to be home with my kids, and music worship opened up, which was my passion and heart. So for me, it just was a way that God allowed me to use my passions all these years, but be a stay-at-home mom at the same time.
That's great. Well, thank you, ladies, for what you do, and all of the team at FBC who works with children, and all you volunteers. I think it takes a village.
Yes.
That's a phrase that is out there, and that is true for this ministry, definitely. So thank you for being a part of all of that with children here at FBC. And for all of you guys watching and listening at home or in your cars, wherever you are, you can contribute to us. As always, if you want to get plugged in, find one of these lovely ladies here, or even Angela May at the church, make a phone call, email. Go to the website, fbcva.life, for all things. And for podcasts specifically, you can continue to look for the Sermon Spotlights, the Global Church podcast as well, and you'll learn all about FBC from that way. So thanks for watching and listening. Until we chat again, let Christ be the focus of your lives each and every day.